What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Filsinger Games Character Spotlight with Mike and Brock.
Mike.
And I'm Brock. And today we're going to try something new. We're going to try Legends of the Galaxy, where we take a Legends of Wrestling card, tonight, Rick Rude, and we share some of our, favorite memories of them in the real world of wrestling, some matches that we liked or angles, things like that. Then we talk about some dream matches we want to run in our Legends Fed based on cards that are available. And then at the end, we're going to talk about how we would make a Clone World Draco version of this character for Champions of the Galaxy. Hence, Legends of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Very clever.
So clever.
But yeah, this is Ravishing Rick Rude. Some of my early memories of him, the feud with Jake the Snake really stands out to me, where he had Jake's wife at the time airbrushed on his tights and stuff like that. That's an all-time classic, I think. Another big one is he's the guy who took the Intercontinental title from Warrior, Ultimate Warrior, with Heenan's outside interference. I remember that being a big deal. I was excited to see that, but never really a Ultimate Warrior fan. But that's a couple quick, just off the top of my head ones.
See, the first time I remember Rick Rude, him and Manny Fernandez were the NWA Tag Champs.
Yes.
And that's like I don't remember him anywhere else. I just remember because NWA back then was just kind of spotty for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get a lot of territory stuff. So the first time I saw him, he was already champion.
Okay.
And so I think I saw him 2 or 3 times. And the next time he was in the WWF. And so, there's no internet back then. You literally had to wait for your magazines to see if
Uh-huh.
there were any title changes.
Right.
So he's in WWF, and I remember me and my buddy Craig were just freaked out. We're like, what happened?
Totally different too.
And
Oh, excuse me.
found out years and years and years later that was, his contract was up and he just jumped ship.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to do a Phantom title change. So they showed a non-title matchup where the Rock and Roll Express won, and
Yeah.
they just dubbed it over to where they win the titles.
You got to do what you got to do, I guess, right?
And then like I remember his feud against Jake and his feud against the Warrior. And I got to meet him once
Okay.
uh, backstage at the Burt Flickinger Center in Buffalo.
Okay.
So he was coming in the door, and I was just out, just out the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in, and he was like, he was polite, didn't, wasn't rude to any of us. He was pulling his little suitcase, and I remember just looking at us, we're all a bunch of green wrestlers, and he's like, boys, fellas, or something along that lines, and just
Mm-hmm.
nodded at us and kept going.
It's cool. I also enjoyed his brief ECW run where he
That's where it
was
was. That was an ECW show.
okay, cool. Um, the whole time he did anything physical, he had the mask on
Yeah.
because he had one of those Lords of London insurance policies on him and he got hurt, so he was collecting pay, I guess, basically, or insurance policy
Yeah.
to not wrestle, basically. So anything physical and they turned it into a great angle because
Yeah,
anytime he would,
the motorcycle helmet, wasn't it?
yeah, it was, and then he had a mask on underneath it as well that he'd wear during commentary. He'd have that on when he was just doing commentary. And then the swerve was Shane Douglas finally was going to get him, he got him in a match with him, and then he had the mask on, and then he's getting beat up. And it turns out it was Shane Douglas's partner, primetime Brian Lee, under the mask. He had turned on him. So then the whole time, like, oh, it was Brian Lee under the mask, when it was obviously
Yeah.
Rick Rude the entire time. But I guess it wouldn't hold up in court. But another classic Rick Rude memory is he's the only person to appear on the same night of Monday Night Raw and Monday Nitro.
Yep.
Because Raw used to tape 2 weeks in one night, and then Nitro was always live. So his contract expired the Monday prior. He shows up at Nitro the following week with the NWO, but he's also with DX on Monday night on Raw. And that was when WWE was still working, or WWF was still working with ECW. So he also appeared on ECW that week. It was a different night. It was on a Saturday night, but so he appeared in all three major wrestling promotions in one week.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
He was an interesting, he was, from what I understand, he was a great, like he was a hell of a tough guy.
Mm-hmm. He was the one guy that nobody ever ribbed.
Yeah.
Because they were afraid of him.
Yeah, there were a lot of guys people didn't rib. Like you didn't rib the Road Warriors. You didn't
right.
rib Harley Race.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because Harley, was packing.
Yeah. There's a funny story that Bruce Pritchard shared where he thought he was ribbing Ric Flair. He was drunk and somebody put him up to calling. He just said, "Call Rick and tell him he has a meeting with Dusty Rhodes tomorrow morning." And so they called Rick Rude and not Ric Flair, because Flair could take a rib. And said Bruce Pritchard called Rick Rude, told him he had a meeting at the office with Dusty Rhodes in the morning at the CNN Center, and then Rick Rude showed up and it wasn't legit. And then I guess him and Bruce he feared for his life after that. He's afraid to see him again. He's like, "I'm sorry, I thought it was Flair."
That'd be funny. Yeah, I heard stories about him, knocking guys out with with open hand slaps, and he was a bouncer at the same bar where the Road Warriors and Crusher, Barry Darso and Rick Rude. Can you imagine those guys bouncing? You would never step out of line.
No. It's not a bad idea.
You would absolutely terrified. Those four guys at the same time bouncing, what a nightmare. Get into a fight? No, not a chance.
Nope. I don't even think you would. Is that overkill though to have all four of those guys there?
Depends on how tough the bar is.
Yeah. What goes down there that you needed to do this?
Yeah. I was a bouncer for years, but we didn't have anybody like that.
It's funny. So, what are some dream matches you'd like to book in a Legends of Wrestling card game fed with ravishing Rick Rude?
I would have liked to see Rude take on Hogan for the WWF title.
I think he deserved
know Hogan
it.
was terrified of him and would not wrestle him.
It kind of felt like they were grooming him for that, and then it just never happened.
Yeah, from what I had heard from different things, and you read different things, it was getting ready to go through, but Hogan he was uncomfortable wrestling Rude because if Rude wanted to win that title, Rude was going to win the title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I always thought that would have been good. I never pictured Rude as after him and Manny, I never pictured him as a tag guy.
I'd like to tag him and Mr. Perfect together and give them a run in a Legends Fed. I think that'd be fun because they were real life good friends. Yeah. I think that'd have been a fun tag team to run. Just give them a year-long title reign or something like that, where they're just beating everybody.
Yeah, that could be interesting. But I was thinking about that, because he's got, excuse me, because after Manny, I don't ever remember. I don't ever remember him teaming with anybody.
I'm trying to think. I can't think of anybody either.
Maybe a one-off.
Yeah, like nothing prolonged. Because right after he left WWF, he went to WCW, and he was like their top villain for about 4 or 5 years. when Flair was bouncing around. Because I think he became a 5-time WCW, I think it was called International Champion at the time, the big gold belt. I think he held that 5 times. I remember I remember there was an interact. They were on Sally Jesse Raphael, him and Sting, and they were asking questions about the business. And Sting had the big gold belt at the time, or no, Rick Rude had it at the time. And Sting's like, "Well, I've held that title multiple times." And Rick's like, "Well, keeping it's another thing." I use that quote all the time still.
The old Ric Flair, you didn't win my belt, you're just borrowing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because I thought different guys you could put them as a tag team.
Hmm.
Henning could be good,
I think that would be good.
but I was trying to think of somebody, because he's a big power guy. I was trying to think of somebody fast.
Hmm.
So I was I was um maybe for that time period, uh someone who could have maybe fit that gimmick when the model Rick Martel,
Yeah,
ravishing Rick Rude,
it'd be a good team.
you know, arrogance.
Hmm. Rick Martel was great. I hope he gets an official card one of these days.
And that or somebody like say Jake Roberts,
Hmm.
where they, their feud ends, but they team up.
Yeah. They realized that that woman was nothing but trouble, and they just got rid of her and became friends over it.
And I just thought that would have been, because Rick Rude was a bad guy, but Jake could be a bad guy.
Yeah, he's probably been bad just as much as he's been good.
Yeah, but it, Rick is bad, but Jake could be evil,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think that could have been a good little thing for them. But yeah, it's difficult thinking about what kind of you, you know matches you'd like to see because so many of these guys have actually worked each other
Right.
over the years. That's why I'm like thinking, okay, Hogan, he would have been great versus Hogan. I think. I think it could have done well. Yeah, he's a better wrestler than Hogan, but
Nobody takes an atomic drop like Rick Rude.
and so it could have been. I think it could have been a good matchup. That's something I would have liked to see.
Hmm.
Or I don't know if they actually worked, but Rick Steamboat.
Oh yeah, they had to have. They were both in WWF at the same time, and then they were both in WCW at the same time after that. They had to have had matches. I don't remember seeing any though.
No, that's the one thing I'm thinking of. Actually I don't think I'm not too sure if Steamboat was there because Steamboat lost to the Honky, and I don't know if he ever really came back.
Yeah. Early 90s, I think they were both in WCW at the same time.
So those would have been my two dream matchups because you put Steamboat with anybody.
Yeah.
He's one of the smoothest workers ever.
Hmm. What about any era?
Oh, it was any era.
Hmm. Like through the Legends of Wrestling card game.
Um, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Maybe
think.
I'm thinking maybe somebody like Lesnar.
Yeah, that might be interesting. I think Lesnar would make him look small though.
Oh yeah, but because Lesnar makes everybody kind of look small.
Hmm.
He's
I'd like to see him against Drew McIntyre.
yeah, Drew's bigger than him. Because
Mm-hmm.
Root, like when I met, like I'm 6'6", so when I meet a lot of these guys, I'm bigger than them.
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say Rude was probably looked me in the eyes.
Okay.
So he was probably legit 6'4", 6'5".
So he's probably bigger than Drew McIntyre then, because I stood eye to eye with Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I met Drew the same time you did, and yeah, he was a big. So Drew's not the 6'7" they bill him.
No, he's probably 6'3", 6'4", I'd say. I still wouldn't pick a fight with him.
Oh, jeez, no. Even though he can't throw a hard ball to first base. I'm seeing if I can find that picture of you and Drew McIntyre.
It's out there somewhere on the Facebook. My daughter Hope is in that picture as well.
Yeah.
It was funny because she was reaching for him to hold her, and I'm gonna tell you something. He's like, I'm afraid. Yes. It's, it's like I'm afraid of what would happen if I were to take her. I was like, it's fine. But she was like legit reaching for him to take her because Hope's so social. She always was, even as a baby. But I was like, you're the first celebrity she's met. He's like, really? He was all excited. He's a super nice guy, Drew McIntyre.
Other than you and Tony Atlas.
Tony Atlas's arms are about as big as my waist.
Yeah, he was a big dude.
At 65 or whatever he probably was in that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my dream match, and that's one you could play because Drew Galloway has a Legends. Well, he has an indie card from Evolve, so you could play that out.
Yeah, yeah, you could probably do that. But yeah, it's one of those things. He was a a great guy, and he knew his role and he knew it well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a combination of the amount of work that wrestlers did back then. Guys were doing 250, 300 shows a year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I couldn't imagine.
Like at my peak, I was working 20 shows a month.
Mm-hmm. Which is ridiculous.
And on the indie scene back in Ontario, most guys only work 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I legitimately was working, 10 times more than almost anybody.
Yeah.
And there were some days where even I'm sore and I'm just driving around Southern Ontario. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
getting on planes and you know,
Yeah.
and I think that's what wore a lot of these guys down, where they hit the drugs and because you got to get something to make you wake up, you got to get something to put you to sleep, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad that has changed for the talent.
yeah, and so
I,
it extends their careers.
mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah,
with Rick with his back, and they don't have to wrestle hurt anymore,
no.
and that's what I think ruined Rick's career as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because now they get guaranteed money, which I think was long overdue.
Yep.
They're under contract, but still independent contractors. But yeah, it's nice to see them being taken care of more.
Yeah. But yeah, Rick. And now how would we convert him to without making him a complete Mr. Galaxy ripoff, which he was?
Yeah. Well, I came up with Mr. Allure.
Oh, you want a whole name and everything?
Well, yeah, you don't have to. That's what I was just thinking because we had Avalanche and Draconian Sheik, big superstar. Greg Valentine was just Greg Valentine. Well, he was time travel, right?
Yeah.
He was the same one. Um, yeah, so I came up with Mr. Allure. Um, he's going to be led by Weasel, who's an Animan manager. based on Bobby Heenan, of course. But the thing with this guy, though, there's several they claim there's only one Mr. Allure, but they may have perfected cloning to a point where people can't detect there's a difference because he's been seen on multiple shows throughout the galaxy on the same at the same time. So there might be more than one Mr. Allure. Either that or he has a really fast space cruiser.
Yes, yeah. I'd go. I was thinking, if we'll do that, just off the top of my head, call him rudimentary,
Ooh, I like that.
and he can be the ultimate heel.
I like that. Because WWE, they kind of make him silly.
Yeah.
A little bit.
No,
I mean,
I loved his opening.
mm-hmm.
Where he goes, I want all the fat out of shape.
Insert town here.
Yeah.
Sweat hogs.
Keep the noise down while I show you what a real man looks like and take my robe off.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was awesome.
Uh-huh.
And I copied it. I was giving a best man speech and I said that.
Nice.
Everybody to keep the noise down while I, show you how a real best man gives his speech. And almost no one got it.
Yeah, of course not.
And
It
then
wasn't
afterwards, we had
mainstream
to
then.
explain it was a wrestling thing, and everybody's like, "Oh,
Really, I'm just joking. But I mean it at the same time.
yeah." But yeah, so with that though, um, I might make him more of a tag guy though.
Okay. Who would you make as his clone partner?
That way, you could team him up with various various guys, and I do like tags.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy tag team wrestling a lot, so I do like to make them.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't be the guy with the tag finish though.
Okay.
He'd be the Bobby Eaton or the Road Warrior Hawk.
Okay. The worker.
Yeah.
Rudimentary. I like that name. It's better than Mr. Allure.
It's weird. The lights got bright.
Ooh. It's a sign from the heavens above.
Yeah. Well, considering the fact that my light switch is right there and no one's around,
Yeah.
it's like the ghost at Sheldon House all over again.
Yeah. It's real.
I ever tell you that story? I was with uh what's with that I'm now drawing a blank on his name and I'm sorry about it. The singer Greek guy.
Oh, Jack.
Jack. Sorry, Jack.
Jack Durakos.
Yep. So Jack and myself were walking through the Sheldon house and we're talking about how it's haunted. And Jack goes, "Do you believe in ghosts?" I'm like, "No." And just then there's a heating vent on the wall about 4 feet up, literally shoots out at us and goes flying by us. And I'm like,
Do now.
we're both instantly freaking. We're like, holy, did that, what?
I've had a couple experiences where I was always a skeptic, but now I think anything's fair game. Not at the Sheldon house, but yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
Yep.
Always a skeptic, but now like after some experiences, like something that can't be explained. So
But that was just kind of funny from the Sheldon house. Just,
yeah.
no, boom, what the?
I'm here. You better acknowledge me.
Acknowledge me.
Well,
That's kind of funny though.
yep. Ghost stories.
Yeah, so I think that's all the things I could do with Rick.
Okay.
No, it's disappointing that he died when he did, but he was
Yeah.
also heavily into steroids and other
Mhm.
um recreational things.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. You
Yes.
don't want to pigeonhole them, but allegedly.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just a shame that so many of those guys we lost so young.
Yeah, because he was only in his 40s.
Hmm. So many from that era. If you watch like the 93 Royal Rumble, just as a random number to throw out there, I bet you more than 15 members in that 30-man match are probably dead, which
Yeah.
is just so sad to think about. That was, 30 years ago.
Yep.
But I forget which WrestleMania it is. I think it might be four, where every match has somebody who is no longer with us in it.
Well, you could say that for a few of them.
Yeah, it's probably like that was an article I read probably 10 years ago. It's probably more now.
Even WrestleMania 1, I think three-quarters of that roster is dead.
Yeah.
Like Hogan's alive, but Piper's dead. Orndorff's
Mhm.
dead. Snook is dead. Um,
Muhammad Ali is dead.
yeah, yeah, but he didn't wrestle.
He was on the card.
I don't think Bundy was in there.
No, he was the main event of two.
Is Playboy Buddy Rose still around?
I don't believe so.
Because he was in there.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's sad to think. I mean, I guess those earlier ones, I guess the ones from the 90s probably would sting more when you watch those back and you see all that. Because WrestleMania is almost 40.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 38 this year?
Came out in I think 1985.
Yeah, so it's coming up on it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's not end on a somber note of all of our so
Everybody's
yeah,
dying.
everyone's dead. Yeah, fortunately that's probably gonna come up a lot as we do this Legends exploration,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah. Thank you for the memories, Rick Rude. There's a lot of good ones. You entertained me a lot, and I appreciate it all.
Yeah, it was good.
Definitely one of the better ones. We lost him too soon. All right. And on that note, we'll put a bow on this one. Thank you for watching, listening, however you choose to partake in this content. If you liked what you saw, please give us a thumbs up. If you have not yet, hit that subscribe button. We have a goal of 123 subscribers in 2023. I think we can do it. Check out all our friends making Filsinger Games related content below. We have a list of podcasts, including the official Filsinger Games podcast, Roll Up, the Legends team's Uncharted Territory, Dizzy Dice from Lee Longpree, and the Filsinger Games fan cast from Grant. Here on YouTube, we have solo promoter, also from Grant, Dave Little's Heartland Championship Wrestling, which he runs live on Saturday nights. And After Further Review, who reviews a lot of wrestling related games and sports related board games and things like that. So check that channel out. And you'll find me on Twitch. I stream Champions of the Galaxy, a bootleg fed on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern. And there's also our social media stuffs down there. Check us out. And if you'd like to add anything to our list, please let us know. We'd love to include your content below as well. You had something you wanted to show us?
Oh, I've been eating Pringles hot ones.
Which one are those?
They're a limited edition ones. I don't know if they get them in the States, but they're made with Las Calientes Verde, a green.
I think I
Basically,
had those ones. Those ones are actually pretty hot.
They're not bad.
Yeah, they have some good flavor too. Hot for the sake of hot isn't good.
No,
But hot
hot
with
with
some
some
flavor.
flavor. That's what you look for.
Yeah, that's what I like. Want to show us your next build?
Well, I was going to do that on the regular one because
All right.
by the time it pops
Right.
out,
Who knows when this comes out? Peek behind the curtain. We film legend stuff to plug in holes when we're busy.
yep, it'll randomly happen.
Yeah, it might be 2 years before anyone sees this episode, so that's a good call. All
And now
right,
we're
thanks.
blowing it wide open.
Yeah, like maybe 7 years from now.
But if you're really curious and want to know what I'm talking about, because I'm not going to show you, look for Death's Head and Doomsday Creature.
Yeah, there you go. Spoiler. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. We appreciate you spending some time with us. We'll see you all next time.
Have a good night.
Later.